Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. You're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I'm going to have a story up in a day or two about Jaden Daniels and just kind of what's been going on early with him in camp, what they need to see, what he's working on, who is helping him. A lot of guys are helping him, etc. So look for that on ESPN.com within the next few days. Today, another practice report, folks. It's Sunday. It is July 28th. Last day of no pads. Monday, they get to full pads. So we finally start to get to see more of what we want to see. Right now, it's just been an extension of OTAs, minicamp. You can learn a lot just by watching this stuff. I always do. But you learn a lot more once the pads come on. Then once we get to those joint practices, once we get to the preseason games, then we can finally get going to where we want to get to, which is the regular season. So that today was the last day, but it was the first day for fans. Added a different level of energy. And, I'm going to put up a video within here to show you a little bit about what it looked like with the fans out here. It always adds something to it. The players like it, the coaches like it. It even adds for anybody who's around there. It adds a little bit of juice. So that's always a fun thing. So, that's what it was. They're limiting the size of the fans. Last year, you get some of those 10,000 crowds. Not going to get that this year. They only have a small bleacher set up, small portion of bleachers set up, or small bleachers set up for that. You have some VIP tents. You have setups, and also for friends and family as well. So, and with the construction going on here with the field, they could not set up the other portable bleachers where they would have had, like last year, they had the stands along most of the sidelines by the field they usually practice at. And then they'd have like a lot of the VIP stuff set up in the end zone. But now that end zone is under construction because of the other field that they're finally improving. And Josh Harris is putting a lot of money into this facility. So it makes you wonder how much longer they're going to be here. So, it's still several more years. Anyways, the whole point of that limits the fan access, but there were a lot of them. There was, or at least I think it was around 3,000. A lot of people were here early. I got here around 8 o'clock, huge line to get in. There were a couple people, I think it was, shout out to these two. If you listen to the podcast, I think it's Landon Show and Ty Laurie. Landon's from Massachusetts. Ty is from Montreal. Nikki Javala tweeted out that they were the ones that were first here at 4:30 a.m. So God bless them. And, somebody asked me, is this the most hyped it's been out there? No, it's not, because don't forget, in 2013, they're coming off a 10-6 season with Robert Griffin III, looking like he was going to be the answer at the position. So in Richmond, you were getting crowds of 10,000. So that was a lot of hype back then. We haven't hit that point. Last year, there was a lot of hype because of Josh Harris taking over. But I've always felt like it was a little bit, I think there was a hope that things were going the right direction. But I think after 3 years under the Ron Rivera regime, you kind of knew that it was kind of plateauing, right? So I think right now there's new ownership. There's hope for better success in the future because you just don't know. And you have the young quarterback that always provides that hope. So anyways, adds excitement. The fans are limited to about, I think it's like 6-7 practices this year. Going away for some of those joint practices takes some of that away. I'll be curious to see what they do in the future with that. Anyway, adds a level of excitement that I think is always enjoyable. Governor Wes Moore was here, the governor from Maryland, and he's key because, now listen, he's a Ravens fan showing up here in a Sean Taylor jersey, and the key for him, he wants to keep this team in Maryland at FedEx Field or in that area with the new stadium. If you kind of had to rank the stadium, if I had to rank where I think they're going to go, it'd be Maryland first, DC second, Virginia third. And how much of a threat is DC with RFK at this point? Well, there's still a couple hurdles to go before you can get to the point. But Maryland has made the point that they're going to invest $400 million in that area around FedEx, which is sorely needed because there's nothing around there. It's just not a great atmosphere. You go in a game there. If you get inside the gates, a lot of tailgating. All right, that's one thing. But outside there, it's just kind of bled. So they invest in all that, and we'll see where it goes. But he was here. He came here last year. There you go. Now you know. Let's get to on the field because that's what makes the difference, right? So the other day, there was at the end of practice, Andrew Wiley was not in there at right tackle, and there's Brandon Coleman was in there with the ones. And you just kind of wonder what's going on. And he said he didn't afterward. He didn't really say anything was going on. Well, he wasn't out there again today. So the first right tackle was Brandon. It was Brandon Coleman, and then Lucas was at the left tackle. Then later, Cornelius Lucas was at right tackle, Coleman at left tackle. And later, Trent Scott was at right tackle. So what's going on? Well, all Wiley would say afterwards is he's had some tightness. So this was not a, hey, let's see what's going on here. It was a, he's got some tightness. He didn't say where. He figured tightness is going to be in the legs. And so he said he would be back up there Monday. Then we'll see where everything goes. But for me, it's always like, if you're about competition, then I don't think anybody in that line should be safe except for, Cosme's going to be safe. Biotis is going to be safe. And I think Allegretti is going to be their starting left tackle. But beyond that, there should be competition because it's not like the tackle. Wiley had a great year last year. So, but it wasn't about that. It was about if he had tightness in there. It also gives them a chance to play some other guys in there and see what they can do. Like see what Coleman can do against the starting caliber front, right? And so he had to go against some starters and did not do poorly. So I think that's a good thing for him. They also were trying, like Michael Dieter as a backup center was playing guard. Nick Allegretti, the guard, took some snaps at center. So that also is emergency situations. May as well get ready. What happens if you're if like Dieter is the second center active in the game, but he has to go in and play guard? You got to know that stuff. So I think there's some of that, I believe, is prep work for that. And we're going to talk to Dan Quinn. We always talk to him before practice. So we'll get a little bit more of that tomorrow about what's going on with the O-line, Wiley, and his approach there. But again, he's all about competition because we've heard about Jaden Daniels. And you just need to mix it up as well. Braden Daniels has been working at guard. I've seen him at left guard. Today he was at right guard. I have not seen him at tackle, which is a good thing because he did not show last year that he could play that position. I thought he struggled in college at that position. And I think guard would be a better place to get him to see, can he make this roster in that role, because he wasn't going to make it as a tackle because he's just not good enough at that. But can you play guard? That's what we get to see when the pads come on. That's what makes it fun when we finally get past this stage. One of the things too, I like watching how guys work, special teams, et cetera, and watching Mike Samerstill. They did this drill where you'd have like two guys, you'd have a guy with the ball, and then you'd have a defender would be like facing each other. Then they call it out, and then they say go, and the defender has to run back and curl back. The ball carrier runs back, curls back, and they meet up. And there's another guy coming as a block, from the other side as kind of like a force guy pushing him back. When you watch him, like there's no hesitation. He hits it, plants up, and he's coming forward. And that's how you need to play in special teams. I think it's why he's an effective defensive player as well. I watched Emmanuel Forbes. He did an okay job there, but he also, I think he wasn't sure. So he's kind of a little bit hesitant on that break. And that's the kind of stuff that in a game, in a special team situation, can be the difference between a really good return and a really nice defensive play. So, but anyway, I think that highlights more about Samerstill than anything else. Marcus Mariota working with the first team again as the number one guy. I say number one guy again, for whatever it's worth. I did see Jaden Daniels was taking snaps with Tyler Biotis in some of the pre-practice drills. Take it for what it's worth, but it's also they work some under center, and they also obviously do some shotgun stuff. But that's in the spring. I felt like when going into minicamp, Daniel started working more with Biotis, and then during minicamp, that's when it worked. Again, at some point, it's going to get there. And that kind of leads to the question, does it matter at what point they say, now you're the guy? And I know there's a lot of talk about, well, you got to get your timing down. Well, they rotate guys in and out so much that I think you're going to get exposed to different guys. And they also put him in drills with that first group. So it's not like he's not getting any work with those first team guys. I also think you want him to prove it to the veterans, whatever. there's also situations they still want to, like, is he checking down on time? Is he checking to the right play? Is he doing this and doing that? You may see a completion, but is it the right guy? We don't know that. So when they start seeing more of that, that's when he'll get even more first team reps. And I do think there's going to be enough time before the season to get that. And he also, keep in mind, he spends time after practice working with some guys, Zach Ertz, a lot of times. So there is some of that building, and he spent a lot of time with Austin Eckler already, and he spent time with the other guys in the offseason, et cetera. So I don't know how much that's going to hurt it. I don't mind this approach. I think it's you can work it different ways, right? But if you're going to preach competition, then I think you got to do that for everybody, and not just and just remove it for one guy, as much as important as he can be to the franchise. And they do have that experienced coaching staff around him too. And I know, like I told you before, he really likes that, whether it's Kingsbury, Pritchard, or now David Blah. Like Blah, he's played with Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, all number one picks. Like, that's a unique situation. So he's learned things from those situations that he can help now apply to this one with Jaden Daniels. And I think that's to the benefit of this organization. And I'll play you an interview that I had with Blah later in a few days after I run the story on Jaden Daniels. But I think it's important that he has that experience, because I think it can help Daniels as well. So, and sometimes it's just a matter of footwork. It's a matter of lining up the right footwork with the right route. It's not just about, is it a completed pass or is it not? It's about, it's very, 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 very much process oriented. Anyway, Frankie Louvu, dude plays fast out there. Almost had a pick on a throw to Eckler. Undrafted safety, I talked about him the other day. Tyler Owens had a nice diving pick off of a ball that was intended for Ben Sinnott, kind of out of his reach, but it hits his hands, bounces up, and Owens, playing deep middle, comes up and dives and makes the grab. Owens seems to have, I like what I've seen so far. Let's see when the pads come on. I also think that's going to be a tough position to really know where it's going to go, because before camp, I wasn't sure where Percy Butler or Derek Forrest fit. Not where they fit, but like what was their thinking on them. And Butler's been more the third safety throughout this camp than Forrest has been. And you already have you have Dominique Hampton that I'm sure they're going to want to keep. You have Jeremy Reeves, who's a key on the special teams. So I don't know where Owens fits in, but I do know that he's, at least from my perspective, has made some plays in camp and has looked good in some areas, whether it's special teams drills or just a couple plays in the defensive backfield. The other thing I wanted to talk about too, because it's funny, I posted a video of Zach Ertz the other day, or we posted it on the shorts page, and it was just of him doing some reps while the special teams work was going on. And it was just meant to say, like, hey, here's a veteran who's doing this extra work. A lot of guys do it. McLaurin will do it on the side. I've seen some of the defensive linemen, they're usually in a drill situation, but today I'm watching the D line, and you have like Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong are off behind like the D tackles working on pass rush moves against a dummy. You're not doing this at 100 miles an hour. You're doing this it's more about, going about 75% and getting your timing down, your rhythm down, whatever it is, your technique. And so I posted this of Ertz and just some steps that he had to take on certain routes or blocking or whatever. And I was surprised by the number of people who were like, oh, he doesn't look like he wants the coaching. And there were several people who said that. And what was funny to me is the guy is doing this like every day. If he didn't want the coaching, he's not doing it every single day. And I mean, and I'm sitting there watching it like, what is he, this is the guy who's played a long time in the NFL, had great success. And he's still watching what he's listening to what the coach is saying, and he's going through it and he's applying what the coach is saying. So I was really surprised by that, because to be honest, it was kind of silly, because the guy is taking to it. He's out there doing it every single day. It's not like the coach are grabbing him and say, Zach Ertz, you got to come over here. This is up to him. This is what he's doing during this break. And it's like watching McLaurin. Like McLaurin doesn't look any different when I'm watching him than what Ertz does. but he's just catching balls. But you're doing something that can help your position. Anyways, Mitchell Tinsley made a really nice catch today up along the sideline. Had to reach up high. Mike Davis on the coverage. Ball was up high and outside. He gets up there, and you couldn't tell if he got his feet in bounds. I wasn't sure. And then the ref signaled, yes, he did. Good play by Tinsley. He's had a couple nice catches. I can't say that he's standing out every day, but he's had a couple nice catches during this camp. Caillou Blue had a pick of Mariota, just stepped in front of the receiver in the middle of the field. And the other one, I forgot to mention this too, because Benjamin St. Just. And I don't have my notes, but I don't know where I didn't put it. Anyways, so St. Just, I've been watching him more. Just how is he progressing? And he's been matched up against McLaurin. He's matched up against him a lot today. And just want to get a feel for it. And I watched him a couple times, but one of the times it impressed me just the discipline with which he's playing in like press man coverage. He had press man with a good jam. McLaurin then takes him upfield and then stem and cuts outside. Looks like it could be a good route by McLaurin, but I like that St. Just stayed in his spot right on the inside. And then as soon as McLaurin breaks outside, he breaks with him, not open. And he had another good jam on him later. So, a couple of nice plays by St. Just. And again, pads come on, see what he does against they're going to be challenged against the Jets and the Dolphins receivers. Be a good test for the secondary to see where are they really at. But a nice job by him on those plays. And speaking of McLaurin, one of the things this is why I think they like having him around, but little thing, but sometimes these little things mean a lot. So after practice, Nick Whiteside, it looked like to be some family members. They had 37 jerseys on, that number 37 jerseys on, and clearly friends and or family. And there were a lot of friends and family here today. So they're getting an autograph by McLaurin, and he knew they were with Whiteside, and Nick was not here, but I overheard Terry saying, I love Nick. He's a hard worker. He's got a chance, man. And it's, he doesn't have to say that to these people, but it's got to feel really good for them to hear a guy like McLaurin say something like that. And it just, sometimes you understand your responsibility and what your words can mean to somebody else. And I just thought that was kind of a cool little moment. Dan Quinn, we always talked to him before practice, and he said one of the things that they're going to do on Monday is some 2-point play competition. But the other thing, again, big on competition. He wants to do things like have some non-scripted moments in practice. So that way you're not getting used to, you don't know what's coming, right? You don't know what they're going to do. And it forces you to then be a little bit sharper in your reads and maybe adjust on the fly a little bit more. And so those are little things that you do that I think can help make a difference, especially for a young quarterback or a new offense in general. Sam Hartman gets a lot of stuff in after practice. He doesn't get a lot of reps now. And as soon as Quinn said, when they start ramping things up, they'll have more reps available for Hartman. But for now, he gets his stuff in after practice. I think I told you about in the spring, there was one time we were in the bubble, and then it was several hours after practice had ended, and he comes in there and he's just like going over plays, footwork, doing, almost like in a hurry up situation sometimes. But it was several hours after. He was in there for a good half hour doing that. While out here after the practice, he's always out there doing more. And that's what they want him to do. That's how you develop a guy. Blah would be with them, and they have the scripted plays. He goes over them. He throws a lot to other guys. So that's what he's trying to do to catch up, to make sure that when you get an opportunity in the preseason that you can play better. But just so we're not getting the reps, but how do you compensate for that? It's by doing this. Quinn was asked about Luke McCaffrey. He did say he feels like he's a little bit more refined as a receiver than expected, considering he just moved there a couple of years ago. So I think they like that where he's at now, but then the trajectory as you get more and more into this. He had a couple nice routes today. One was the night outbreaking route, did not get the ball, but he got open. He was open by a few yards because of the cut. And I think he's doing a better job just kind of attacking the defense back, making a move off that. I think, we'll see where it goes, but right now, if you had to look at the top 3 receivers, it's McLaurin, Dotson, and De'Ami Brown. That's who's consistently been working there. So, but a guy like McCaffrey, you got to, go show it in the preseason and he'll be fine. The other thing Quinn talked about is a couple of guys, we've talked a lot about leaders like Zach Ertz, Wagner, Eckler, etc. But he also pointed out guys like Tyler Biotish and Allegretti, and he said, with their other teams, they didn't have to be leaders necessarily. So you didn't know what kind of leaders maybe they really were because you had strong leaders in Dallas in that line. Well, Allegretti was not a starter in the Chiefs line, so you had other guys there. Well, he feels like they're becoming those kind of guys in that particular in the O line room. So I think that's one of the things he likes in addition to what he's seeing so far in the field. But again, O line, you need the pads out. And then Quinn also said that he was asked about the fan base, and he talked about growing up on the East Coast, watching a lot of Redskins games because they were always on. It's Madden, it's Summerall. And then, of course, he goes to college in Maryland. So he watched a lot of those games. So he understands that importance. But he also said that one guy that said something to him before he came here was Dallas owner Jerry Jones. And Jones told him it's such an important fan base that you're the right man for that. So the league understands this, and nobody understands, I think, better than Jones. Like, we all know what it's been like, and I think they know, and I don't think they like it. For sure. I mean, just because, maybe you get half your fans here, but the stadium's not full. You want a full stadium. You want this franchise to mean something. And that's one of the things that Quinn talked about in the message to fans before practice, just kind of thanking them for coming out, but also the importance of them. But they know, like, to get them fully back, it's one thing, folks. You got to go out there and win. So, and when you do that, I think people will more than fill up that stadium. And then Marcus Mariota talked as well. And I think he showed why he's good for Jaden Daniels. And I've told you that people close to Daniels feel like he's been really good for him. And Marcus said that he feels Daniels has a good head on his shoulders. He also understands the importance of the atmosphere in the quarterback room for a young quarterback. Mariota had that in Tennessee. And he said for his first couple of years, they also happened to be his best years. Now, he had some injuries after that too, but he felt like those were his best years. And he felt like some of that, certainly he alluded, basically, pulling from there, it certainly seemed like he credited some of that to the quarterback room and how good it was for him. And that's what he wants to be for Daniels. And so far, it seems like he has been. And again, when guys know their roles and you're helping develop a young guy, that makes a difference. And so I think that's one reason why you want a veteran here. But then the other part is, like, these guys all can do. Daniels may do certain things with his legs at a different level, but these guys, Mariota is capable of using his legs, and Hartman showed some of that, but Driscoll, but the first two in particular. So that style is similar, but it's also understanding the atmosphere and what a young quarterback who is at a high pick, what they need to succeed. I think that's where Mariota's value also comes. So anyway, folks, that's it from me. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back Monday with another episode, wrapping up the first day of full pad work. We'll see how much they actually do with that, but it is the first day. It's a different look. It's a fun look. So tune in then, and I'll talk to you.